With my room, no. But like with my room on the outside edge, all the way up to the top, it sounds like someone kicked a nest of hornets, and it's like the first couple, like that noise, and then we figured it out. It's kind of fun.
You have a challenging room anyway.
I love my room. The storm that came in yesterday, I was off. It was beautiful. But when it rains, when we're in, you can't talk, you can't hear it. It's real loud. Because it's the direct roof, so anything that hits it, and if the wind blows really hard, you can hear it shift and creak. It's fine. Can I get you all anything? So if you hear that underline, you should buzzing noise. It's our shop class. Yeah, they open up. You should hear it.
Does it really?
I'd like to introduce Mr. JTalley. Jacob focused on natural resources.
Good morning, everyone. My name is JTalley. Thank you all for coming. As you can see, I did my project on natural resource management. To start off with my research paper, being that environmental deterioration is such a major aspect of our lives today, seeing all of the news and things of that nature, I really decided to split it into basically two categories, climate and wildlife, and looking at laws and programs that have been implemented in that respect to see how it's been just to aid them in the betterment of it. And on the climate side, I looked at 3 laws, as you can see, are programs that are implemented that all focus on the reduction of carbon emissions into the atmosphere. To start off with the Clean Air Act, that was established in 1990, and well, essentially all of these aren't very effective, just because of varying reasons. With the Clean Air Act, there's certain limits for each state when they're meant admittance rates that they can have, and that's not really effective just because states such as California, which have the highest admittance rates in the country, in comparison to, say, Virginia, which doesn't have nearly as much. They have the same limits that they can exceed, and it's really just not effective in that way just because they're completely different in the amount that they admit. And then moving to the cap and trade system, which is relatively similar, that's really big in Europe. That's something that they use. Financial incentives that are given to companies that don't exceed a certain amount of admittance at the end of every year. And it doesn't really work just because the larger companies aren't very worried about it, just because they have so much money, it doesn't really matter. And this is also something that's been thought about coming to the United States. And I just wouldn't recommend it just because of how ineffective it is. There is a gradual reduction, but it's not anything significant enough to make it very effective in the long run. And then the last thing I looked at was the Clean Power Plan, which was implemented by Barack Obama in 2015. And that plans to cut costs, the annual cost of energy by $85 for the average family by 2030. But the only problem would be that it also has a projected 40,000 job loss, which is something that we really can't deal with. And but there's a lot of good potential with this plan. We just have to wait and see how everything plays out within the long run. On the wildlife side, I looked at 3 animals that are all protected under the Endangered Species Act. I really looked at a global, I'd say state, local level with each of these animals. The African elephant has seen its numbers decrease dramatically over the past several decades. And the African Elephant Conservation Act was implemented in 1988 for the betterment of the animal, but over the past decade alone, 100,000 elephants have decreased in population. So from that, the African Elephant Conservation Fund came just to try to get money for the betterment of it. And the only problem would be that there's not enough, I would say, enforcement over there. There's not enough money to enforce the actual laws against poaching over there, because that's the main cause of death, poaching for ivory with elephants. So there's not enough over there just to stop the issue and enforce the law. From there, I went to the wolf of Yellowstone that thrived in the Yellowstone environment in the early 1930s, and they were re-implemented in 1995 just to see how they would help the environment, the ecosystem as a whole. And since then, they've essentially acted as a keystone species. The whole environment is very balanced because of them. Being the predators and carnivores that they are, they feed on the small and large game of the area, and which has in turn caused a rise in vegetation. So they're just really balanced throughout to make that ecosystem very balanced as a whole. The only problem would be that there have been certain cases where livestock of the area have been reported, obviously being the carnivores that they are, leading from that. But farmers are properly compensated for that, so this one has been very effective in that respect. It's been very good for that ecosystem. And the last thing that I looked at was the Florida panther, which besides poaching, its next leading cause of death is actually automobile accidents. So state officials decided to reduce the speed limits from 55 to 45 miles per hour at nighttime, just to give drivers a little more reaction. With it being dark, a little reaction time and things of that nature. So just to try to give as much safety for the animals as well as us during that. And there's only about 100 to 200 panthers left. So every car accident is very detrimental to that population just because there's not many left. It really hasn't slowed the decline in the numbers. I mean, there hasn't been as many car accidents, but they're still steadily declining. So it hasn't shown much effectiveness, I would say, in that respect. So the reasons for this topic, that quality really sticks with me just because I feel as if with the evolution of technology and society and things of that nature, really straying away from our natural instincts and the way we were. And I really feel as if fishing is a way just to enjoy nature, find the simplicity of it. I just really feel like it's a good way to stay in touch with our natural instincts. And also just because I've learned at a young age, as you can see here, I was brought up in fishing. My family's always loved it. Ever since I was 5 years old, I've been around it. So luckily I was able to love it the way that they have. My mentors for this project were John Odenkirk and Mike Eisel of the Department of Inland and Fisheries. Mr. Odenkirk has been with the department for about 29 years. He received his bachelor's from Virginia Tech and his master's from Tennessee Tech. And he works out of the Fredericksburg department. And then Mr. Eisel received his bachelor's from Virginia Tech as well, and his master's from Virginia Commonwealth University. And he's been in the field for about 15 years. And he works out of the Ashland department. So for my internship project, I shadowed Mr. Odenkirk and Eisel on a 2-day venture that's called the Tidal Bass Survey, which was started about 10 years ago because local anglers weren't very happy with the relative size and abundance of fish. So they set out to try to diagnose the problem and see what they could do to fix it. But luckily, the fish were able to naturally rise their numbers and can't balance everything out on their own, but they still go out every year just to check the problem and see how everything is going, just basically just a yearly check on everything. It's along the Rappahannock River, along 6 sites where they shock the fish. It's about 30-second runs, or it's 30 seconds to a minute each run shocking the fish. It's where the generator's on, the fish are all getting shocked, and you pick them up and put them into a cooler. Can't really see it, but up there on board. And with that, after that, there's about 2 or 3 runs per site, and after that, they'll record all the data, and then after each day, they'll go back and compare that to years past for each site, and that's just the way that they keep up with how everything goes with the fish and how the population size and things of that nature are going. Some of the skills that I really learned was just field work, which I consider to be the fun part of this job, going out and working with the organisms, actually being able to be out on the water and seeing how everything goes with that, but also the analytics side, like crunching numbers, going back and comparing to years past, and the actual desk job part of it, and going back and I guess you'd say actually being a biologist, going back and comparing numbers. But it was a really eye-opening experience, and I was really appreciative of it, and I really enjoyed it, and I think this is what I'm going to be able to do later in life, hopefully. And also, I also learned how to run equipment, such as the generator on board. Can't really see it here, but it's up this way from that device there. That's how they get electricity to the fish in the water. It goes through wires along board. Then it goes up to these fishing arms, or excuse me, the shocking arms there, down into the water and shocks the organisms. But the only way that it goes down through the wires and into the water, so you have to have pressure on that pressure pad, as you can see up there a little bit. You have to have weight on top of that, so it won't be going unless people are ready to go on the top of that position. And also just things like this wooden trough thing here, that's with the measuring tape across it. That's how they record the data of the fish to compare to the years past. And it was just a really good experience learning all the equipment that they use and just getting experience in the field. And also just a lot of personal fishing information, where the best area is to catch fish, certain times of year, things of that nature. So I learned a lot of stuff in that respect. So it was just a really good experience. For the community service portion of our project, I actually will be completing next week, April 13th, with Mr. Eisel of the Department of Game and Fisheries. He'll be coming to shock the school pond just to see the kind of organisms that are present there. And I'll be having students at the high school of ecology classes come down to the pond just to see what kind of organisms are present there, because I feel as if the pond is such a nice feature of our school, and not many schools are fortunate enough to have it as we do. And I feel like getting the most use out of it as possible would be the best way for it. Also, just a hands-on learning experience for the students. Learning out of a textbook is a lot different from seeing things up close. I feel as if it would just be a better experience for them learning up close and seeing how everything works. And then the other side of my community service, one of the teachers at the high school here will be gathering, or has gathered, 2 30-gallon tanks. I'll be collecting organisms to fish for. The pumpkin seed, the green sunfish, black crappie, white crappie. And that'll also just be used as a teaching tool for the future. Like I said earlier, just learning hands-on, it'll be a lot easier learning visually, actually being able to see the organisms in a textbook. I feel as it's just a good way to learn in the future for students. And I just hope it'll be a good teaching tool for teachers years to come. My personal impact would be just a professional experience, as I said earlier, just how everything works in the field, not only the field work part, but also going back and looking at crunching numbers and things of that nature. So it was a really good experience seeing actually how they run their job, seeing how everything goes, and then also the personal experience, like I said, learning all the types of lures and tackle and things of that nature with fishing. It was a really good experience, and the legacy hopefully that comes from my community service project, just learning from the fish that are there and being able to learn more, because kids learn differently. Some learn better hands-on, some learn better textbooks. Having that option there to learn, with the hands-on aspect of it. So hopefully that'll really help, and also just getting more use out of the pond. It's really nice feature, being that easy to do. My future plans are to attend Bridgewater College and major in biology, either teaching upper levels of high school, or working in the field, such as the Department of Game and the Fisheries, or possibly biologist at a national park. Undecided, but I do know that I really want to do something with biology, and that project really solidified that idea for me. So, a big thanks to this project to Mr. Odenkirk and Eisel just for the opportunities they gave me throughout this project. They were so understanding and informative throughout this, and they're just really good guys. And also to Ms. J, just for everything that she did throughout this project, just being very helpful and understanding, and had a lot of help, and I really appreciate it throughout this project. Questions? Go ahead.
that best project that you're talking about, was there anything else that they were looking at, or is it just they pick up the bass and everything else that?
It was just small and largemouth bass, but whenever they're able to find bowfin or snakeheads in the water, it's not so often that they find those, so they always like to collect it in. So it was just those four. Being so excited actually when we started, the first day that we started, once the fish started getting shocked, I just started scooping up everything, and I picked up catfish. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And it just kind of happened that I was just so excited with it, and then I learned from there. And they only wanted the four types of fish, so yeah. Besides the bass, they take other those two just because it's so rare and not we actually didn't find any snakeheads. They found a lot of bowfin. But when they do find bowfin, they will take it out and record the data from it. But we actually didn't find anything out of the model. Yeah.
Do you know what they do with the like the records of fish, like when they catch and what they report? Or do they keep it for themselves for their own personal record, or do they send that to someone, like somebody nationally?
I'm not sure if they do. I know that they do, just compared to years past. He didn't really go into detail and explain if it was that they said it's like another organization or if they do it themselves. I would assume they probably do it themselves, but I just do know that they compare it to years past. And he did show me this year's that everything is going well with it and it's proceeding as planned. Everything's fine. The levels are balanced, so it was a very productive year. So.
What do you expect to find in the pond here? What's ahead you're anticipating seeing?
I'm expecting to see a lot of similar things. I mean, small and largemouth bass, probably crappie, just a lot of small organisms as that. I haven't seen too many fish in there, and I've been down there to fish before, but I'm expecting there is a lot of organisms down there, and it just hasn't gotten much use, but there should be a lot of organisms down there, and hopefully it'll be a good experience for everybody.
What else should you see?
There's probably brim and crappie, things of that nature, probably snakes as well, frogs definitely. Probably a wide abundance of varieties of fish down there. Just have to wait and see. I'll see you next week. I'll get back to you if you'd like me to.
Yeah.
Let you know.
Next one. Why haven't you done the pond thing already?
Just because, well, honestly, it was on my fault. Early in the project, it was a poor communication. At first, I thought I was going to be building a fishing bench on Lake Orange, but it actually turned out I didn't interpret what he was saying the correct way, and I had to find a new project about halfway through, and I had to wait for it to get warm outside as well for this. So this ended up being the best time for Mr. Eisel to come out and do it. And it just ended up being the best time for everybody.
Yeah. Where were you at when you were doing the readings?
On the Rappahannock River.
Rappahannock.
So up in
below the fall line, above the fall line.
Below the fall line. It was up in the Fredericksburg area, like right outside of Washington and stuff like that. So.
Jacob, what advice would you give to next year's seniors?
I would say obviously don't procrastinate, don't get behind. It's hard to catch up, but also just enjoy every minute of it. It goes by fast, and take it as much as you can because it is what you make it. You can make it a really good experience or a really bad one. So make it as fun as possible and informative as possible in making your decisions.